They searched around the clock for days, but rescuers in Bangladesh have now reached a grim conclusion. Officials have given up hope of finding any more survivors. This is now a recovery mission. At least 380 people were killed. Hundreds are still missing. The building's owner was arrested yesterday as he tried to cross the border into India. Several owners of businesses in the building have also been arrested. Anne McMillan is monitoring the developments on the story. She's in London today. And Anne, there's the very latest. This is no longer a rescue mission. This is a recovery now. What more can you tell us about Bangladesh?
Well, I can tell you that rescuers who have been working underneath the huge blocks of concrete have been told to leave the area because heavy lifting equipment has now been brought in to lift those blocks. An army spokesman said they are proceeding cautiously, but he doubts that anyone is still alive in the rubble. We know that 3,000 people were working in the 8-story building, Heather, when it collapsed. As you mentioned, just over 380 plus are dead. 3,000 were in the building, as I said, and about 2,400 survived. So there's still a lot of people missing. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh visited the site today, and she also went to a hospital where survivors are being treated. She said the government will help them and their families, along with families of those who died. 6 arrests so far. The owner of the building, who had gone into hiding, was picked up near the border with India, trying to escape. It turns out he's a local leader of the youth wing of the governing party in Bangladesh, so a politician. 2 government engineers who had inspected the building recently have also been arrested, along with 3 owners of companies that made garments in the building. And there are British companies wrapped up in this, Primark notably. We've talked about this, Canadian, of course, as well. And here in this country, some of Canada's major retailers are meeting with the Retail Council of Canada to try to come up with a firm response to the tragedy in Bangladesh. What about there in Europe? How are their counterparts in retail responding? Well, you know, Heather, 60% of the clothing made in Bangladesh ends up being sold in Europe. Just 5% goes to Canada, yet I cannot find any mention of any meetings with retailers today in Britain or elsewhere in Europe. On the weekend, there were protests here in London outside Primark, a huge discount clothing chain owned by the Weston family, the Canadians who own Loblaws and the Joe Fresh fashion label. One protester said he wanted to send a clear message to Primark that the deaths in Bangladesh could have been prevented if Primark had taken its responsibility to those workers seriously. No word today from Primark, but it did issue a statement late last week acknowledging that one of its suppliers occupied the 2nd floor of the collapsed building. The company said it was deeply shocked and saddened, and that it has worked with NGOs and other retailers for several years to review the Bangladeshi industry's approach to factory standards, and that it will push for this review to continue and to include building integrity, so the actual state of these overcrowded buildings.
Okay, because of course there were reports of big cracks in the walls before this one came crashing down. Anne, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anne McMillan from London today. Now again, that meeting today, some of Canada's biggest retailers, and an emergency meeting, as it's called, with the Retail Council of Canada in response to the Bangladesh disaster. They're meeting to look at working conditions in 3rd world countries. Clothing for a number of brands were produced at the Bangladesh factory, including Joe Fresh, owned by Loblaws. And the parent company says it's committed to ensuring safe working conditions for the people who produce the products it sells.